Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the underworld. The Star Wars Underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Woo! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
Why am I not in the intro? I gotta come up with a snappy line.
What's up, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Underworld Podcast. We are your source for the latest breaking Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion each and every week. And this week on the show, we have the full cast reveal from Star Wars Starfighter. We got confirmations of some things we already knew, plus some new cast members as well that we didn't know about. So we're going to be doing a deep dive into that and the beginning of the filming for that exciting new project. It's actually happening. We'll be answering your hashtag Ask the SWU questions, all of that and much more on the show. My name is Chris, and joining me it's Dominic Jones.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Ben. Hello, everybody. Yeah, what year is it? It's 2016, 2017. We've got a Star Wars movie in post-production and production at the same time. Two Star Wars movies are actually happening. That's felt like something that might not ever happen again. But it's very exciting. Looking forward to diving into it. What a great surprise for a Thursday. They announced it on a Thursday, the day we record this podcast. So for once, we're actually on top of the news. We're not waiting 6.5 days as if they had dropped it, 24 hours later. So wonderful. It's going to be a great show.
Heck yes. So excited about that. Thank you, Lucasfilm, for the timing. Also joining us, it's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
How's it going, everybody? Of course, I'm excited about the news. We'll get to that. But the timing, actually, I have a bone to pick. Lucasfilm, Kathy, I know you're listening. Look, I thought we had an understanding here, okay? I was ahead of schedule this week. I had the show notes down. Marty had a thumbnail ready for us. We were going to talk about Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor watching the Clone Wars. That was going to be the big topic for this week. We were all ready to go. And then you just drop this on us, okay? Wednesday night's the cutoff, okay? You can't drop news after that, okay? Once the show notes are in place for Star Wars Underworld, that's it, okay? It's got to wait. Push it till Friday, okay? You didn't consult us, and I don't appreciate it.
There was an era where it did feel like Ben would put all this work into making show notes. He'd have the show ready and planned, and we're all set. And then a couple hours before the show, something would happen and just blow up the whole thing. Yeah. I think the going back to announcements for things that didn't happen. I think the Rian Johnson trilogy, I think that was announced like a couple of hours before our show, and we had like a whole other thing planned, and we were just like, oh, I guess we're not doing any of this.
There's so many shows that were conceptualized, at least in my head and on paper, on virtual paper, and never happened.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, in terms of like random announcements, this is a pretty good one, right? Like there was a picture, there was a lot of information. It's very sort of proactive and positive. It's not, hey, we're firing the directors again. Gotta get somebody else in here. It was that's still one for the history books, but that's for a topic for another day. I think we'll have to get back into that someday. But because they got lots of good news, why don't we do some plugs and then get right into it?
Yes, you may notice that Hannah is not on the show this week, but I do have her Australian family-owned ginger beer representing the land down under. Yes, and speaking of that, check out all the other shows on the Star Wars Underworld Network, including her show, The Raeside, as well as Iron Cannon, Tales from Beyond the Galaxy, Tractor Beam, and more coming soon. A lot of those are on our YouTube channel here, the Star Wars Underworld Network. The other ones are on channels with those respective names, like The Raeside, Tales from Beyond the Galaxy. You can follow us on social media at the SWU. Make sure you as well join our SWU Network Discord server. We got a watch party or game night coming up this week, Ben.
I believe we're doing D&D again. I believe
Nice.
That's what I've heard. So that's things.
Awesome.
And I should note in regards to social media, if you're gonna follow us on Blue Sky, and you are specifically in the state of Mississippi, which is where I am right now, you're gonna need a VPN. You're gonna need a VPN or something else to get onto Blue Sky, because it is specifically banned in the state of Mississippi.
What?
As of last week. Is this news to you?
Yeah. I've been at Fan Expo. I guess I've been living under a rock. What the heck?
I forgot. Yeah, this did happen. This did happen during your sabbatical in Fan Expo. So yeah, it's a lot of political mumbo jumbo, but basically, not only is our national leaders are dumb, my local leaders are also being especially dumb. So yeah, can't get on Blue Sky unless and so I have a VPN so I can pretend to be in Sweden, and then I go on YouTube and I get Swedish commercials. It's a whole thing. It's weird. It's wild.
It's just one IKEA commercial after another.
For the record, I'm not sponsored. What is it? What is the name of the thing? Proton VPN. I endorse them. Okay, it's free.
Can you still get on TikTok?
Yes, TikTok is fine.
Huh? Okay.
Apparently, this applies to all social media. Like, there has to be age verification for all social media, but like Blue Sky is the only one that's like, nope, okay. And then like Facebook hasn't asked me for my ID yet, so I don't know what the hell's going on.
Okay. Strange things are afoot in Mississippi.
I'm
even stranger than usual.
I'm just remembering how the heads of every social media network were at a certain event earlier, except for the head of Blue Sky, and I'm thinking, I wonder if that has something to do with this.
Something January 20th or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that might be the discrepancy there. They might not be able to slip around that rule.
Hence the VPN.
Yes, but again, a pirate's life for Ben. We are now.
Yo ho.
Oh, and apparently, game night, D&D night is not for another few weeks. Apparently, so I don't know what's happening this week. Just show up and find out. Game night,
regular
movie night, whatever.
Night.
We're just gonna hang out and talk like normal people.
Okay.
No, that's not possible. Ben, as a pirate, would you say you could remember no At-Atten?
Can't say you remember no At-Atten.
I won't say why, but I was looking at all the episode titles for all the Star Wars shows today, and that one always stands out as my favorite. Can't say I remember no At-Atten is a wonderful episode title.
Taking titles from quotes in the particular thing, whether it's movies or TV shows, like Rogue One, that's top tier. The Last Jedi, all of those I particularly like.
Can't say I remember no At-Atten. Anyway.
Oh yes. Also, you can become a channel member. You can super chat with us. I already see some super chats coming in, so thank you. We'll get to those for sure. And make sure you subscribe on your way out, whether you're listening or watching.
So just to answer a question from the chat real quick, Kenny's Geek Corner says, Dominic, how did you set up your background? if for longtime regular listeners or viewers, you may notice something is a little bit different. There is a story here, and we will get to it when we talk about Fan Expo Canada.
Nice.
And if you're thinking, I heard Ion Cannon, I know how this story goes. No, you don't.
Wow. Okay.
All right, let's get into things. Of course, the top story this week, the cast, the full cast or most of the cast, the principal cast for Star Wars Starfighter was announced. The movie is also now officially in production. According to StarWars.com, today, to mark the start of production on Star Wars Starfighter, Lucasfilm has announced the full cast for the upcoming feature film from Sean Levy. Previously joining the previously announced Ryan Gosling, the film stars Flynn Gray, Matt Smith, Mia Goth, Aaron Pierre, Simon Bird, Jamal Westman, Daniel Ings, and Amy Adams. Star Wars Starfighter is an all new standalone adventure. The film which has begun production is an entirely original story set in a period never before explored in Star Wars Starfighter will be released theatrically May 28th, 2027, yada, yada, yada. So a full cast. They also dropped this behind the scenes picture of Ryan Gosling and Flynn Gray on the set, sort of alluding to those rumors that were out there about what this movie will be. But the cast again is Ryan Gosling, Flynn Gray, Matt Smith, Mia Goth, Aaron Pierre, Simon Bird, Jamal Westman, Daniel Ings, and Amy Adams. Amy Adams kind of sneaking in there at the end. You're reading it, you're like, okay, yeah, those are some of those people that were rumored. Okay, these are interesting, and Amy Adams. Okay. Pretty exciting. The one thing I'll say about this, and I'll get your guys' take on it. With Amy Adams, is there was this rumor that was going around with this movie that like a lot of people were passing on it. People weren't interested. The sort of the implication being like, oh, Star Wars is too risky for these stars now. I do think the fact that you have a cast where your list begins with Ryan Gosling and ends with Amy Adams kind of puts that whole concept to bed. Like these are two A-list top tier. Amy Adams has got to have been nominated. I don't think she's won an Oscar, but she's certainly up there. They've both been nominated for these big awards. These are top tier actors that want to be in Star Wars, and then you fill it out with a cast of everyone from Matt Smith and Mia Goth, who are pretty well established stars, to some some fun like British character actors and stuff. It's looking like a strong cast, along with a nice young star in Flynn Gray to round out the whole thing. But let's get your takes on the cast of Starfighter. Chris, why don't we throw to you first on this?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a feel for the vibes of this movie, and they're being kind of mysterious about this too. This whole like era never explored, as well. And this particular photo here that we're showing, on the screen, it's a black and white photo of Ryan and Flynn, and it's very low key, it's very dark, it's very brooding, almost like film noir-esque high contrast. And yet when you look at Ryan Gosling and you look at Sean Levy, you think almost like more of a lighthearted type family comedy or even adult comedy parody like vibe. So, but then this is Mia Goth in it, and then has Amy Adams in it. It's like it's all over the place. Like I can't get a finger on the vibe of this movie. Like, is this going to be a comedy? Is this going to be kind of, Sean Levy makes me think, Lord and Miller's Solo. Like that's the first thing that I think of when I think of Sean Levy doing a Star Wars movie. But then the cast and then the announcement and then this photo makes me think more like Rogue One Andor. So I'm just thinking, what is happening? What is this movie going to be? It's just so interesting. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's the cast and the people involved in this movie that is selling it. It's not the concept. The concept of a Starfighter movie is just so generic,
so vague.
Yeah, it's like what is it? Like every Star Wars movie is a Starfighter movie. There's a Starfighter in literally every Star Wars movie. Like this is a lightsaber movie. This is a black The Force, the movie. Like no, like
I'd go see The Force, the movie.
I mean, yeah, we see all of these things. We would see all these things. We're Star Wars fans, but like in general, like what is the selling point? Well, the selling point is Matt Smith. The selling point is Mia Goth. The selling point is Sean Levy, Amy Adams. And so these are kind of important announcements and important confirmations, because I think this is telling us more about the vibes of the movie. Even though it's confusing and contradictory, it's still telling us more about the vibes in the movie than anything else that we've heard. So I'm just kind of perplexed and intrigued. That's
yeah. Just to underscore your point about Sean Levy, like these are the movies he's directed. He's had a long career and directed a lot of movies, but like let's go through these. Just in Time, Big Fat Liar, Just Married, Cheaper by the Dozen, The Pink Panther, Night at the Museum, Battle of the Smithsonian, Date Night, Real Steel, The Internship, This Is Where I Leave You, Night at the Museum, The Secret Tomb, Free Guy, The Atom Project, Deadpool, and Wolverine. Like the guy does lighthearted stuff. Good stuff. Like there's some entertainment, very entertaining movies on that list. But you're right, it doesn't match the tone. But maybe that's what they're going for here. Maybe they're putting this, they're entrusting this movie to a guy who has shown he can make a movie competently. You know, unlike a lot of the other directors, he's got more directing experience, honestly, than even J.J. Abrams did when he took on Star Wars back in 2015, right? Like Abrams had done the 2 Star Trek movies, he'd done Mission Impossible, so he had the experience with the big budget stuff, but that was it in terms of his directing. Levy's, done 3 times that in his career, so he knows how to get things done, he knows how to get things made, he knows how to work collaboratively with actors and different art departments and all that stuff. So maybe there's that, and then maybe he's saying, well, okay, you want me to do a Star Wars movie, I've always dreamed of doing something that is more of a noir, more of a gritty thing. So let me try that on the biggest stage possible. And let's do a Star Wars that is kind of that. Or maybe this image is just deceiving. And when the movie's going to start with, something that makes who talks first, you talk first, I talk first, makes that seem like kids, child's play.
But decent and good, because, it's actually kind of funny. Like, of all of the Star Wars directors that have been announced, the ones that ended up going on to make the movie and the ones that didn't, this is the one I've seen the most movies from. Yeah. Like, of those movies,
me too.
I've seen almost all of them.
Yeah.
Growing up, these are like the family movies we would watch. And yeah, some of them are, really, really good. And even recently, like the last couple movies are incredible. I thought they were really amazing films. Some of the top films of their years. So it's very exciting, but what a wild card. More than Taika Waititi at this point.
Yeah. Honestly, Sean Levy might be the most established director that they've hired to do one of these things.
I think
and like that's not a slight on anybody else. Everybody else had done things to get them to this point, but just in terms of sheer volume of content, 20
to 25 years of more than 10 successful movies.
Experience outranks everything.
Yeah, his first movie was 1997.
Yeah, wow. So 30 years.
He's been working for a while.
Yeah,
incredible.
It's going for a long time. Ben, what do you think of what we got from the cast here?
No, I mean, I can't help but echo what you guys say. Like, just looking at the cast, I'm just like, I was shocked, like seeing, like, obviously, like Amy Adams, like, oh my god, like of all the fan cast, like everybody has like their actors. They're like, I really want them to be. Amy Adams never on my radar. Not that I dislike her at all. I love Amy Adams, but like, she's just not someone I would have pictured being in the cast list for a Star Wars movie. But here we are. But this cast list really, it has it all. Like, it's a very much an all-star cast in the sense that it's got super dramatic people. We've talked about how Ryan Gosling could kind of do anything. He's done dramatic, he's done humor, he's done musicals, he's done everything. And then you go further with that, it'd be like, you've got horror icons, you've got funny people in here, you've got, and then you've got Amy Adams, who also can kind of do anything. She's done genre stuff. She's done superheroes. She's done super dramatic stuff. She's worked with Denis Villeneuve, and now, she's moving on to Star Wars. Someone who doesn't seem to have any prejudice about like any of this stuff. Like, she seems like she's someone who will sign on to anything as long as she believes in the project. And it's great that she's signed on to this one. And obviously, someone pointed out in the chat that I think she was in one of the Night at the Museum movies, I think. So I think so they have a past, so that's interesting. But yeah, and then you've got some rising stars here. Aaron Pierre was another one that I'm like, okay, that's a cool, like, he's someone that I just recently started hearing about, of like, oh, this guy's hot stuff, and he got cast in the Lanterns. He's playing Jon Stewart in the Lantern Show for DCU. James Gunn, like a lot of exciting names in here. And yes, a lot of big names. So I've heard some chatter online today, like, oh my gosh, when did they put movie stars in Star Wars? I'm like, they've always been doing that, for the record. I can get like, there's maybe less of a mix of unknowns and stars in this movie than we've had previously. Like Flynn seems to be the only unknown person that I had never heard of in this cast, which is a big stake because like I pay attention to this stuff, but also there's so many freaking celebrities. It's hard to not hear about people. But like most of these people I was well aware of. So that's interesting. But I also think it's just the nature of the movie. I think Sean Levy makes crowd-pleasing movies. He brings the best of the best to the table. I think it bodes well for this. I'm very, very excited to see what this things. And yes, the brooding behind-the-scenes photo is cool, but defies what I think the actual tone of the movie, at least what I'm expecting. Is like, it's funny, I'm expecting both of these next movies to just be fun. I'm not expecting them to be the best. I'm expecting Mandalorian to be fun. They're just going to be a fun romp of a movie. And this movie also, I'm just like, yeah, Free Guy, Deadpool, they're just fun movies. I think expect more of that.
So I was diving deeper into Sean Levy's filmography here. When you get into his television stuff, because not only has this dude directed a movie every other year for 25 years, he also has done a lot of television. And that's where we can see a little bit more variety. A lot of it is like, again, sort of lighthearted, comedic, and some kids stuff. But more recently, he directed 8 episodes of Stranger Things,
I didn't know that.
including season 4, episode 4, Dear Billy, which is a pretty intense episode.
Yeah.
He was also the showrunner for All the Light We Cannot See, which is not a show I've seen, but I read the book. And I cannot imagine taking that book and turning it into Deadpool and Wolverine or Free Guy. Like that's not a show. It's a World War II drama told from the point of view of a young girl in Nazi occupied France and a young man in the Hitler Youth. So like it's a very dark and intense book. You can't do Ryan Gosling or Ryan Reynolds comedy in that sort of story, unless you are Taika Waititi with that movie he did a few years ago. But like he has ventured outside of his sort of lightheartedness before. So maybe this isn't him doing something a little grittier, a little more noir. Wouldn't be as much of a departure as it would be if we just think of him as the Night at the Museum, Deadpool, Wolverine guy.
No, that's great that you looked into that. And the other thing that I'm wondering too is looking at all the various actors and known people that are in the announced cast. I want to know like who the cameos are going to be. Like it could be anyone. He's worked with so many people through both film and TV throughout those 25 years. Like there's so many just random people that could pop up, like cheaper by the dozen. Are we going to get like a Tom Welling or Hilary Duff cameo?
Oh my God.
Tom Levy had a cameo in a short film directed by Taylor Swift. So does that mean Taylor Swift is going to be a stormtrooper? Don't look for the longest time Taylor Swift was going to be in Deadpool and Wolverine. Let's not start that again, okay?
Let's go into like a cantina and it's like an old-timey jazz club and the jazz singer singing the jazzy version of Laptinek is Taylor Swift. Let's make that happen. That the other one, the one I think might actually happen, Ben Stiller. Did all the Night at the Museum movies. I could see him absolutely signing up for one day of being a ridiculous alien that gets in Ryan Gosling's face and goes sort of like Joseph Gordon-Levitt in The Last Jedi. I told those guys, I told them they can't park here, like something like that. I think
the cameos don't always have to be in your face. Like a lot of these people are just like, just get me in they just want their foot in the door. So they're an alien voice, they're a stormtrooper, they're someone under a mask or something,
Yeah. Who had the best cameo of the sequel trilogy? Was it Daniel Craig as the stormtrooper, Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the no parking guy, or Mark Hamill as Bulio? Win the war.
Yeah, Mark Hamill for sure. Although John Williams was cool as well.
John Williams is good. That's good.
Yeah, I loved blowing my dad's mind with that. Watching Rise of Skywalker, because we watched it in the theater. Because I couldn't point out to them like maybe years later. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's John Williams in the bar. He's like, what? Are you kidding me?
Oh my goodness,
incredible. So Starfighter in production. We've got some just more behind the scenes people. So obviously directed by Sean Levy, produced by Levy and Kathleen Kennedy. Executive producers are Ryan Gosling, Dan Levine, Mary McLachlan, and Josh McLachlan. And it's written by Jonathan Tropper. I don't know what to make of any of those people.
I mean, this is I believe people were saying online that this is the first we've had it in the series. This is the first Star Wars actor in a film to be a executive producer and have that kind of pull.
How much of that is just to get him to sign on? like yeah, sure, Ryan, we'll make you the the executive producer. Like, is he how many notes was he giving on the script? Maybe a lot. I don't know, but
I always question the producer and executive producer titles. Not that I don't very much respect the job of producers. I think it's very much an unsung hero job behind the scenes. Producers obviously do a heck of a lot at various degrees, but then also you watch, every Marvel movie for the first 10 years, and like Stan Lee was an executive producer, and you're just like, I don't think he actually had that much. He just came in and filmed his cameos and like created half the characters. So that's kind of almost an honorary title, but how much work he actually did on the movies, I think, is minimal.
Yeah. Jonathan Tropper, his movies include This Is Where I Leave You, which was pretty decent. Another Sean Levy collaboration. The Adam Project, again, pretty decent. Another Sean Levy collaboration. And then a bunch of TV work on Banshee, Sea, and Warrior. Also Your Friends and Neighbor, where he's the showrunner.
I've not seen any of that.
I've not seen any of that. I guess I've seen This Is Where I Leave You under the Adam Project. That's all I got. Both of which I liked. So I feel pretty good about this guy taking on some writing alongside Sean Levy. Shown they can work together as they have before. All right. So we will continue to monitor the production of Star Wars Starfighter. We'll see what comes out. We'll get new set pictures. We didn't really get any set pictures from the Mandalorian and Grogu, did we? I feel like they shot.
We never even got an official casting announcement. Like we got
I feel like they shot that entirely.
Pedro's in it, Grogu's in it, Zeb's in it, maybe
Sigourney Weaver.
And Sigourney's in it. That was the casting announcement.
We had to wait till Celebration to get the Sigourney Weaver confirmation. It'll be interesting if we'll get some new set photos. Everything old is new again. It does sort of feel like we're back in the 2015, 2014 era where there's they were shooting these movies, and who knows, maybe we'll get some more pictures of them out in a desert, a real actual desert, filming.
Never thought I'd get nostalgic for 2014, but here I am.
I'm looking forward to being at Star Wars Celebration, and I guess they won't celebrate because Celebration 2027 is like a month before this. So I guess there won't be like a big preview panel where they like debut a new trailer or something. But it's got to be something. Got to be something big.
Show the whole movie.
That's the dream. And they're starting.
You better damn well hope that you get into that stupid Starfighter panel. People are going to be killing themselves trying to get those lotteries.
There's a way to do this. I'm sure there is a way to let everybody who has a Celebration ticket who wants to see the movie. I'm sure there is a way to make that happen. Yeah. If there is any company that can make it happen, Lucasfilm and Disney together, rent out an entire movie theater, like
there is one. So there is one by the convention center. I don't go there because it's like one of the most expensive theaters in the country. But there is
perfect for Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Or rent out the Hollywood Bowl a couple of times.
Yeah, let's do that. So you're right. You're right next to the crypto.com arena. Show it in there. Build a giant screen and show it in there. Then you get, 15, 20,000 people can watch it that way. Rent out the movie theater. That's probably another 15, 20,000 people.
Yep.
And then, show it in the big panel stages too.
The other thing too is like, because it's in downtown LA, there's a whole street, Broadway, and it's nowhere near as notorious and infamous as the Broadway in New York City, but it's still got those kind of vibes. You have a lot of those old timey like vaudevillian theaters there, and some of them are still in operation for various things. So you could just have everybody go down to Broadway and then just be in all the vaudeville theaters. And
there we go.
Yeah.
I love that. So at D23 last year, they did a whole bunch of stuff at the Honda Center, which was sort of a 15-minute drive from the convention center, and they would run shuttle buses from the Anaheim Convention Center to the Honda Center. And I'm like, there's something here. Like this might be the way of the future to do these big panels and big things. So like, you enter with your ticket, you get sort of randomly assigned a theater. Maybe you can, go in pods of 4 or something. And find, you're going to this theater, find the red bus, go into this theater, find the blue bus, go into this theater, find the green bus, and get on there. Or we can give them Star Warsy names. This one's the Falcon, that one's the X-Wing, this one's the the Ghost or something.
And the lucky people can watch it at the Alamo Draft House and can be served food and beverages while they're watching.
There you go. I feel like everybody's got to be handed like a little baggie of popcorn when you go in, just like a little tiny bag that says, it's just a brown paper bag that just says Starfighter on it.
Yeah.
Here, Jesse in the live chat, throwback for longtime listeners. Here's how we can guarantee that the movie will be shown at Celebration. Easy. Set up an IHOP live show again. They'll show the movie at the same time, just like what happened in Anaheim with the Kenobi premiere.
Why have I
Jesse,
not
please don't give them any ideas.
Where the closest IHOP is to LA Convention Center yet? I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, we got it. We got to know.
Question. We got to do some research.
We got
production meeting right now.
Actually, haven't looked this up
in the middle of the show.
Totally.
So, Star Wars Celebration, Star Wars Starfighter, lots to look forward to in 2027.
Oh, yeah. 2 Star Wars movies, guys. 2 Star Wars movies. They're real.
There's at least going to be 2.
Hypothetical. They're not just announcements on StarWars.com. They exist. There's people in costumes and on sets. They're happening.
There's at least going to be 2, Ben. At least 2.
So
we'll see.
we have an IHOP 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks away from the convention center.
Oh, all right.
Go. So IHOP on 8th and Flower Street. Be ready.
The manager, we know you're listening. We know you're listening. Just get ready for us to descend on you with the speaker system and 50 to 100 people.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, good stuff. All right, let's keep moving on here because between now and Starfighter, there's a few other things that are going to happen. One of which is Star Wars Visions Volume 3.
Yeah.
It was announced this week at I think Anime NYC that season 3 premiering October 29th on Disney Plus. Presumably all episodes at once. And they dropped some stills from an upcoming episode or upcoming short from David Productions Star Wars Vision short called Black. And we can see there's some pretty interesting imagery looking like some stormtroopers fighting with giant eyes looking down at them from something.
Wild.
And also another one looking like they're fighting on like some ice or something. Pretty interesting. Ben, what do you think? Visions Volume 3, October 29th. plus this little look at Black, the short from David's Productions. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, no, it's trippy as hell. Like, that's very interesting. They're really hyping up this Black short. Like, it's really looking like they're very proud of this one. They've screened it, I think, in a few places, and they're really promoting the heck of it. And very interesting, especially since, you know, as Joel mentioned in the chat, like I just watched most of Visions. We screened it in the Discord, the first season, and it's really good. Like, I forgot how great that first season is. Like, and I don't hate the second season, but it didn't hit me the way the first season did. And like, there's just so many bangers in that first season, and that poster really got me excited because, like, you see some of the characters from the first season starting to pop back up. The Ronin, Ninth Jedi people, very, very exciting. And so, like, gets back to we're getting sequels to that and all that kind of stuff. Like, this is, and I'm someone who was like, I don't like anime. Anime is just not for me. Like, I was that weirdo. I was like that thing. Like, what? I hadn't even watched anime, and I decided I didn't like it. And like, and I had to finally tell myself, like, dude, stop. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. But how can you say this? So and then I get Star Wars Visions, and I'm like, oh, anime is good, actually. Ooh, this is good. Like, it's that, you know, it's that meme of just like you're tasting it and just being like, oh, okay, I like this pretty well. So yeah, this is getting the Ninth Jedi is like, that's peak Star Wars to me. The fact that we're getting a continuation of that and a series too. Can't get over that. It's good.
So ready for the series. Yeah. Chris, your thoughts on the Visions poster and these stills from this new short?
Yeah, no, this is very exciting. Yeah, I echo everything that's been said, and yeah, this is some of the best Star Wars, and I just love that they're continuing to do developmental Star Wars and just allowing off-the-wall ideas to come to fruition. I think that's where you get a lot of growth in what Star Wars is and for the future. So amazing. I'm so happy. I hope a lot of people watch this and they just keep making these.
Yeah, and just to sort of piggyback off of what Ben was saying, the fact that we are getting sequels, that there are follow-ups to the first season, does sort of suggest that, like, what we're seeing in this show could be, you know, sort of a jumping off point, a springboard for new and different Star Wars stories. And nothing underscores that more than the fact that the Ninth Jedi is going to be made into a whole series next year. Like, we'll get this sequel short this year, and then next year there's a whole series of the Ninth Jedi coming. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm not super into anime. Like, I don't know what most of it is, but what I've seen of it I do enjoy. And again, that's very, very limited. But anytime we can get some different perspectives on Star Wars, I'm right there for it. And Visions, I thought Visions Volume 1 and Volume 2 were both fantastic. So to continue that with this is pretty exciting. And the Visions panel at Celebration was pretty sweet, even though I didn't understand a word that was being said by anyone other than the Lucasfilm producer who came and went periodically throughout it. What they showed us looked pretty sweet, and looking forward to this October 29th. Probably the last new on-screen Star Wars for this year. I think because we got Lego next month and Visions the month after that. But that should be a pretty strong way to go out for at least the visual or on-screen side of Star Wars Visions, or Star Wars in general. All right, let us keep going. We mentioned, I mentioned earlier, was at Fan Expo Canada this past weekend. And Ben, somehow there was some news that got around that we had a hand in. Matthew texted you some quotes and you blasted them out to the internet, and the internet picked up on them in a big way.
Well, yeah, and I think one of them was one you sent me too.
Yes, that's right. Matthew sent you the Ewan McGregor ones. I sent you the Daphne Keane ones.
Okay, yeah. So obviously the one, I don't know, the one that seemed to break the internet the most, that just showed up everywhere. And we don't get a lot of exclusives here, but I'm very proud of the ones we do get on occasion, and rarely do they actually do the viralness that I hope they do. But this one did. It was Ewan McGregor saying, "Yes, I'm going to watch all of Clone Wars. That's my homework." And as soon as Matthew sent this to me, I was like, dude, I'm gonna burn the internet down with this. That's what I told Matthew. I'm like, dude, this is going viral. I predicted it, and sure enough, like all the sites, they just picked up on it, and it starts getting passed around. I see these little infographics, and we start getting tagged everywhere, even on sites we don't even post on anymore. It was pretty wild. And then the Daphne Keane one did pretty good. You did a good job. You did good.
Oh, thank you.
It wasn't all Matthew.
That I will say, and I'll talk about this some more in a minute. The sending you one quote from Daphne Keane, I don't think was my biggest contribution to Fan Expo this year, but we'll talk about that in a minute. This Ewan McGregor quote, and it's genuinely so funny to me that this went viral because I don't know, man. He's asked,
what does it mean? What does it mean?
So he comes out. Here's the thing. He comes out to the panel. The panel, it's packed, full room. Everybody's going wild. Everybody's thrilled that he's there. He comes out there. He's getting a standing ovation. He comes out. He says his thing. Goes, "Hello there, Toronto," and everybody goes nuts because he said the thing. And the moderator, the interviewer, who was really, really good, and I wish I could remember this guy's name so I could shout him out, but he was really, really good. He also did John Boyega's Q&A the next morning and was equally good then. He asks you, and he's like, "So, tell me, how do you feel about coming out to these events? What is it like? What do you enjoy?" And Ewan talks about, "Oh, I love meeting the fans, and I love hearing everybody's passion and hearing everybody's stories, and I feel like I can share some things, but there are other things that like I just don't know enough about." He goes, "I don't know much about Clone Wars," and then that's when he said this quote about I am going to watch all of Clone Wars. That's my homework. So he sort of said it like that, and
Are you saying we duped the internet? Are you saying we clickbaited the entire internet?
No. It's a real quote that Ewan said, and I don't think we made it seem like he said anything that he wasn't saying. But if you really believe that Ewan McGregor is going to sit down and watch all of the Clone Wars as homework, I've got a great beachfront property in Antarctica that I'd like to sell you. I don't know. Well, does Ewan? I know Ewan has kids. How old are they? Like, does he have a 12-year-old or an 8-year-old? Because then maybe you can watch. Maybe I can see him sitting down and watching all the Clone Wars with that. But I know at least one of his children is like an adult and an actor and stuff. So I don't think the two of them, much lovely as I'm sure they are gonna sit down and watch Clone Wars. I don't think that's how they're gonna spend their time together. But like if he had like an 8-year-old or something, I could absolutely see him watching the whole series.
How I prefer to present. A lot of people online will take quotes and intentionally take them in a context and add connotations that aren't there and do things for clickbait purposes. I prefer to be like, here's the quote, here's how it is. Full take from it you will. And that one was like, my thought was just like, well, what if he's talking about getting ready for Ahsoka? We've had those rumors are out there, not from any legitimate sources that I've seen, but there is some rumblings that people are hoping for that. And I think it's a genuine possibility. But then also, his wife is playing a character who is a huge part of Star Wars animation. Like he may just be wanting to catch up on all this stuff, and he's been out of the loop for a little while, so he just wants to catch up on it because most of his family is in Star Wars now, like including himself. Like he would want to do that. So like I think the homework line could work anyway. Obviously people are going to take things the way they want to take them, so
Here's the thing, Ben. Like I don't think you clickbaited the internet. You didn't go around telling everybody that like, hey, guess what? Ewan is in season 2 of Ahsoka, which happened at a previous Fan Expo event that he did, where somebody just straight up misquoted him, likely by accident. In defense of that person, I'm almost certain it was unintentional, and they were genuinely believing that that's what they had heard when they just misheard him in the fog and the excitement of being at a convention panel with Obi-Wan Kenobi. I just think this is something he says to get people to realize I haven't watched the show yet. I'll get to it. And maybe he does intend to get to it the same way that, you know, I intend to get to Ironheart. Sure, I will watch that someday, maybe, but I have no immediate plans to do so. You asked me today, are you going to watch Ironheart? And say, well, maybe I can put that as my homework, but I don't know. There's no guarantee I'm watching it by next week or next month or even next year. So it's a fun quote. It's just a fun little silly thing that he said to kind of get the ball rolling on what was a very entertaining 45 minutes of Ewan McGregor just, you know, kicking back, telling stories about Star Wars and motorcycles and, you know, his career in general and just being a fun guy. My favorite moment of the panel was somebody asked the question from the moderator. It was like a fan submitted question. They don't do actual Q&A anymore. They just have, you know, pre-submitted questions. It was beard or no beard. And Ewan misheard him and thought he said beer or no beer. And said, oh, I've been sober since 2000. And then had to have it explained to him that no, we were just talking about facial hair, not alcoholic beverages. That was my personal highlight of it. It was a very entertaining panel. The panels at Fan Expo with the Star Wars celebs were great. John Boyega, absolutely on fire. He does not hold back, but you don't get the sense that he doesn't seem bitter. That's the thing. Like, you know, he said what he needed to say. He's honest and open with his opinions, but you don't get the sense that he's just some miserable old man at the end of his career, because he isn't. He's, you know, 30 something and you know, very much in the prime of his career. But here's what I'll say about John Boyega. I think John Boyega likes Star Wars, likes the sequel trilogy. Like, if he were doing a Star Wars marathon, I think it might end with 6 or 7. You know, I don't think he's watching 8 and 9. I think that's, you know, he might have fond memories of working with Oscar and Daisy, but I don't think he's going on. He's watching those movies and thinking they're quality installments in the Star Wars saga. That's my opinion of what John Boyega said, and that is entirely his prerogative as a Star Wars fan as well as a Star Wars actor. Daphne Keane, she was super nice, super sweet on her panel. She did mention that Ahsoka was a big inspiration for the way that Jecki fought. That was something she was very open about, and I love that Ahsoka is a character that you know, gets referenced in that way, because, you know, for a long time when Clone Wars was on, Ahsoka, even though she was kind of the star of that show, felt like a niche character. And it's only in recent years that all of a sudden she's become front and center of the franchise, the way she has always kind of been since 2008. But it sort of seems like only recently she's getting the recognition that she's getting.
And it makes sense, like watching those scenes where she's using 2 lightsabers. And then, you know, and then thinking about Leslie Headland, massive Star Wars fan, massive fan of everything Star Wars, seemingly, like she would absolutely, you know, would be looking to Ahsoka for inspiration. Like, I think that's cool.
Mm-hmm. I will also say I got to meet Daphne this weekend. Corey, friend of the show, a good friend of mine, as a birthday present, bought me the Daphne Keane autograph. So I got to go get her autograph.
You, Corey.
Very, very nice person, very sweet. Listened to my babbling at her about how cool I thought Jecki was, and then very kindly thanked me and sent me on my way, which is the correct response to the nonsense that I was saying. My voice was also, like, it was Sunday, so my voice was kind of gone. So it was sort of like I was kind of talking like the teenager on The Simpsons. So like, Daphne, I think you're really cool, and I thought Jecki was really awesome, and the way she fought was cool. It sucks that she died, but it was a good death scene, so I thought that was cool. That was sort of,
at least you had the confidence to do it. Like, there's more than one occasion I've been like, there's no line for such and such of big actor. I'm just like, what do I say? What do I do? What am I supposed to do? Like, I'm not going over there and talking like an idiot. Like, no way. I'm sure she heard far worse than things I said to her all weekend.
what was funny is Corey very kindly he gets me this autograph, and not knowing what kind of autograph I would want, he got me the one where you could get an item signed instead of just a picture, instead of a picture, which costs a little bit more. But I didn't have an item that I wanted signed. I couldn't find something at the convention. So when I went to redeem, my QR code, I said, okay, I'm going to get one of these 8x10s and get her to sign that. And they go, but you have the item one. And I said, I know, but I want an 8x10. And they said, but you have an item one. You could get her to sign anything. And I said, can't this 8x10 be my item? Like, why do you care? It's paid for more. They're like, but you paid for it. I'm like, I didn't pay for it. My dear friend did. And he just, wanted to give me the options. And then they suggested that I get her to sign my badge, which I was like, I get where you're coming from. Like we have those badges that Ryan Johnson signed at 2017, but the Fan Expo badge that I had like, it didn't have Jackie on it. It didn't have the Acolyte on it. It'd just be a weird thing. I want this 8x10 of Jackie to get signed by her. And I had to have that conversation multiple times with people where they're like, but you have the premium one. I'm like, but just this, my item is this 8x10. I don't know what to tell you. It's interesting way they do these cons now. But the Ewan McGregor, John Boyega, Daphne Keane, those three big Star Wars panels, those were the third, fourth, and fifth biggest Star Wars panels of Fan Expo Canada. The first and second biggest Star Wars panels were, of course, Star Wars: The Untold Stories and Celebrating Star Wars, which were, of course, the two panels that I moderated. Those were huge successes, if I do say so myself. And I cannot properly express the feeling that I had during and after and leading up to both of those panels. So the first panel I did was Star Wars: The Untold Stories, which is not the sort of panel I've ever done before. In the past at Celebration, at Toronto Comic-Con, I've done panels where you have a panel of people. You have, somewhere between, I think we had 4 in Toronto. I think we had 6 in London. Lots of people to share the whole thing. For Star Wars: The Untold Stories, it was just me for 45 minutes, essentially giving a lecture on Star Wars. And it was, as I talked about a couple of weeks ago, we talked about, some of the earliest concepts for the saga. We talked about Star Wars Underworld, the TV show. We talked about Star Wars Detours. We talked about unproduced Clone Wars episodes. So it was, like I said, it was me and my little slideshow for 45 minutes or so.
But a good audience? A good audience? Were they receptive?
They were very receptive. This was perhaps one of the most surreal moments I've ever had at a convention, because this panel was at 10:30 in the morning on Friday. I'm like, this is all right, great. You know what? If we can fill half the room first thing in the morning on Friday, that'll be perfect. Be a nice number of people. Like I said, I hadn't really done this presentation before. My audiences for this presentation prior to Friday, which was also my birthday, by the way. The audience had been for this panel had been the action figures on my shelf and my parents. That's all. When I was rehearsing this panel, that's what I did. I would mainly rehearse it to the shelf of Black Series figures next to my desk, and then for one last run through, I did it for my parents. The line at 10:15 was shockingly long. Nice. And with about 5 minutes before the panel started, the wonderful volunteers who were truly spectacular for room 709, theater 5, the people that were running the line were exceptional people. They were coming through the room going, if you have an open space next to you, put up your hand.
Nice. Nice.
So this panel was standing room only.
Awesome.
Din, a friend of the show, was late and had to BS his way into the room because he had a programming badge because he was part of the next panel that we did on Saturday. So he told them that he was on the panel, and so they let him in. And he went and sat in the corner on the floor. And yeah, it was truly something special. And here's the other thing. Look, I know that everybody showed up. The people that showed up, you didn't show up for me. I know that. I recognize that. You showed up for Star Wars. That's why we all show up. I get that. That's it. You love the franchise. You're interested in the subject matter. And that's why I show up to most panels. I don't know who most of these people are on panels. My humble brag for this is that in the entire 45 minutes, not a single person got up and left.
That's awesome.
There you go.
Because
You
that never happens. I have been that person that gets up and leaves a panel. Yep. Sometimes it's because that's just how timing works out and I need to be somewhere else. Sometimes not vibing with the material. Sometimes really hungry and I need to go eat something, whatever it was. But all somewhere between 150 and 200 people that were in that room stayed for the whole thing. And that was truly, truly surreal. And so that was Friday morning. And then we did it again on Saturday afternoon for celebrating Star Wars. This time was more of a traditional panel. Again, the room was full, and we had a really fun conversation about all things Star Wars. So shout out to Darren, Fred, Michelle, Becca, and Din for being on that panel. They were wonderful. Darren's from the Rebel Legion, Canadian Division, Garrison, something like that. Base, Canadian base. I think it's Rebel Legion is bases, so Canadian base. Fred, Fearless Fred Kennedy, is a radio host and comic book writer here in Toronto, and he produced a really cool Star Wars fan audio drama called Mud 79, which everybody should look up. It rivals, and honestly is kind of better than a lot of professionally produced things like that. Michelle, you can follow on Instagram at Michelle Aaron with 2 eyes. Really fun Star Wars and theme park content creator. And then Becca, you can follow at the Film Tripper. She goes around to different filming locations around the world, especially in Toronto, but also a few others around the world, and takes pictures there and checks them out and informs other people about how you can go and visit. So we had great conversation, fun time. Din played a song "Love Is the Force of Life" at the end of it to kind of close things down, and it was really cool. And it ended about an hour before Ewan McGregor's panel. So as they said that day, we were the unofficial warm-up act for Ewan McGregor.
That's cool.
And literally that panel ended and we ran from this convention from room 705 to theater 1, which was on the which is literally in a different building, and got in to see Ewan right after that. So that was spectacular. So thank you to everybody who was on the panel on Saturday, everybody who came out to both of those panels, Fan Expo for agreeing to let me do this, and the volunteers who ran that room, who really who really did a spectacular job and made this whole thing possible. Now, I promised another story, and that is what the hell is going on in my background. So I'm gonna move a little bit here. So I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do my microphone as handheld here for a second here. All right. It was like suddenly I'm doing like a stand-up special here. All right. So I'm gonna move out of the way so people watching can see this. This is an Attack of the Clones Lay's potato chips standee.
Wrong one. Hold on. I'm trying to get just you.
Yeah, trying to get just me here. I think I can do that.
Oh, I got it.
Oh, there we are. All right, so here we are. So you can see this. It's actually French Canadian. So you can see here, it's not Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. It's Star Wars Episode 2, L'Attaque des Clones. And we've got, you got Padme, you got Obi-Wan, Anakin, Mace, Yoda in what's supposed to be the Geonosian arena, but really looks nothing like what the actual arena looks like in the movie. Because I'm guessing this was done before they had finalized the look of that thing. So this is what they were rolling with. But so I saw this on day 1 of the convention. I was walking the floor with Din and our other friend Dan. Our other friend Travis might have been there as well. We're walking the floor and we see these and we're kind of looking at them. There's a few other ones from this era. There's a Yoda one and stuff. That's a Pepsi thing. And we're looking at them. We're kind of laughing and saying, oh, this would be really funny to put in the podcast background. And I said, I bet by the end of the weekend, I can convince Matthew to buy this. So sort of forgot about it until literally the last 10 minutes of the show. So me and Matt and Dan were walking the show floor and I realized, oh my God, there's only 10 minutes left. I forgot to try and get Matthew to buy this thing. So we walked over to where this booth was. I said, hey, there's another booth. They had something I wanted to check out earlier in the weekend. Let's go back there. So we walk over there. And we are at that booth for, I'm going to say, less than 30 seconds before Matthew spots this thing. And within, I'm going to say, the next 2 minutes, the guy who owned the booth had convinced him to buy this and 2 other ones for $40.
Oh my God.
And so now in the Star Wars Underworld North Studios, where we record the Star Wars Underworld Ion Cannon and the tractor beam. I don't know if this is going to be up forever because right now it's very sort of precariously balanced on some other things to keep it just for the sake of the show. But you might see this more often in the future. You might see a couple of other ones that will pop up. All of them French Canadian, all of them from the prequel era, and that's what we got. There it is.
That is so cool. I love that. I mean, I'm a big fan of international posters for Star Wars stuff. So seeing like a promotional thing too, like I've never seen that one before. So it's really cool to see that. I don't think that photo's on the internet. So it's cool to see something free internet.
I mean, that's what's so special about those types of collectibles, like the whole like something you would see in a convenience store or something like that. It's like it's stuff that clearly they made it to be thrown away. They made it so that like and most of the time it was like a barely paid employee in some place was just like, oh, the movie's out of theaters now. I'm going to take this down and I'm going to put it in the dumpster. But then for it to have a new life of its own and live on and you have these standees and cardboard cutouts and all this kind of stuff. And, it's when you see stuff like that, it's like, oh, wow, this should not be here. It should not exist, but yet here it is. And it's special.
It is. Yeah. And like I said, like the Geonosian Arena, like it bears a passing resemblance to what's in the movie. If you just looked at it quickly, like while you're picking up your chips, you wouldn't notice it. But if you stare at it for a little bit, and especially, 20 some odd years later, when that movie, we've seen it a bunch of times and it's really ingrained in our brains, you're like, hey, that doesn't look anything like what's actually in the movie. But yeah, that was a lot of it's fun. It's a good piece of merch, good collectible, and the guy who sold it, I'm sure, was very happy to be rid of it
after all these years.
And it's in French too, which is like just sort of the added little bit of it of extra fun. So there it is. That was Fan Expo Canada. It was a great time. There was lots of good stuff. There was a Hasbro Star Wars panel. They revealed a couple of reveals. A new Black Series Shore Trooper helmet that you can wear. It looks pretty sweet. Also, the Anakin and Obi-Wan from the Comic-Con exclusive will be available in sort of single packaging, single card releases. So that's fun, Star Wars wise. In terms of Star Wars stuff, that's kind of it. It was Hasbro, it was John, Daphne, and Ewan, and then it was me. And it was a great time. The show floor was awesome. The cosplay was excellent. 501st Rebel Legion, Mando Mercs were all out in full force. And there was lots of good stuff to be had, good things to be seeing. Disney Consumer Products had a booth where you could get a photo op. You can see those on my Instagram, Dominic J25. and they were kind of fun. You got lightsabers you could pose with and stuff and things like that. So there's a ton of good Star Wars stuff, good non-Star Wars stuff. It was as we say, all around good times. All right. Let's keep going here. Let's get to the Ask the SWU segment. This is the part of the show where we turn things over to the listeners to ask questions, submit topics, share their thoughts on what's going on with all things Star Wars. And we will start. We do this via Discord and via Super Chat. We've got Super Chat. We'll start with this one from Joel. Joel says, according to Jeff Snyder, Claudio Miranda, Top Gun, Maverick, and Life of Pi is the cinematographer for Star Wars Starfighter. That's pretty good.
That's interesting.
I can't remember if I ever saw Top Gun Maverick. I feel like it's something I was intending to watch, but also something that I have not watched yet.
I watched it. Pretty good. Ends with the Death Star style trench run.
Yeah, I was skeptical of the hype. I was very, very late to the game, and I was like, oh yeah, that is good. It's better than the original Top Gun, which isn't saying much, but whatever.
Ooh, hot take from Ben.
Wow.
Hot take from Ben. All right. And let's go to the Discord now. This one comes from Gilster10. Gilster10 writes, do you think Ahsoka ever told Rex that Anakin became Darth Vader after the events of Rebels? Part of me feels that revealing the truth would break Rex's heart, given the loyalty he had to the Jedi general he served under. Also, since Rex survived long enough to fight in the Battle of Endor, Nick Sant controversy aside, I like to think he may have met Luke and shared old war stories about the Clone Wars. I remember wondering this back in the day with Star Wars Rebels, if this would ever come up. I can't remember. Around that time, I got to interview Dave Filoni once or twice, and I can't remember if I ever actually asked him this question, because it was something that was always on my mind. And I seem to recall at some point he gave an answer to this question that was basically, we don't have time for everything. And it never really came up. But I feel like it's one of those things that, it would break his heart. But Ahsoka would probably feel like she has to tell him, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think she's very different than like Obi-Wan. Like Obi-Wan wouldn't tell him. He wouldn't tell anybody. But she might.
Yeah. Or I mean, there's also a third possibility here that, maybe Rex kind of figured it out on his own in a way.
Not surprising.
Rex, very intelligent tactician, someone who was very intelligent about all these things, and I like the idea of like maybe he was studying the Empire and was like, and like he's one of those people that was in Anakin's inner circle, like he was probably one of the closest people to Anakin outside of Padme, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka. So like just the entire idea of Anakin dies or whatever the official story about what happened to Anakin happened, and then this new guy Vader shows up on the same day and is the new King of the Hill and is leading the 501st. It wouldn't be a stretch to say that Rex maybe put two and two together after that. But then Obi-Wan didn't. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka were kind of in the dark. They it took Vader revealing that to them for them to finally put the pieces together. So but I think Ahsoka definitely would have told him. I don't see her keeping that from him.
Well, Obi-Wan was he was in the dark because he just didn't know that that's what happened to Anakin. He assumed Anakin died on the lava river there.
Correct.
Whereas Ahsoka, you kind of get the sense that she's in denial, right? She senses him in, what's that episode called? Siege of Lothal. She senses him and then spends the next 2/3 of the season like sort of in denial about it until they go into the Jedi Temple on Lothal sort of many episodes later, like 15 episodes later. And that's when she gets her confirmation. And it's kind of one of those things where, search your feelings, it to be true. Like she knew, she just didn't want to believe it. And that's always been something I find fascinating about Anakin's downfall, is that nobody wants to believe it. Obi-Wan doesn't want to believe it. Padme doesn't want to believe it. Ahsoka doesn't want to believe it. The three people who know him best, they don't want to believe it. But as soon as they hear it, they know it in their heart, in their gut to be true, right? Like Obi-Wan, he goes to watch the security recording, right? But he doesn't need to. Yoda kind of tries to tell him not to, right? But he needs to actually see it with his eyes, because he doesn't want to believe this sort of awful feeling that he has. Padme, Obi-Wan says Anakin's fallen to the dark side, and she says, no, he didn't. You're wrong. And yet she's sitting there sort of distraught. You can see it in Natalie Portman's performance that she knows it's true. She goes to Mustafar to find out, and within a few moments, and like that whole pitch that she's making to him, even though she doesn't know it, like that whole pitch of, come away with me, raise our child while we still can. That's the pitch you're making to somebody who has fallen to the dark side, has fallen to the dark side. And same thing with Ahsoka. We see in Siege of Mandalore, she senses it happen, and she sort of goes, Anakin, like there's kind of like a what happened thing. She knows something as bad is happening with him. And there's that great moment with her on the bridge sensing it, and there's the archived dialogue from Revenge of the Sith, and then Matt Lanter saying, what have I done? Like, such a good moment. And then, like I said, you see that play out through season 2 of Rebels, of her knowing that the Sith Lord is Anakin, but not accepting it until she faces basically irrefutable proof.
Yeah.
Anyway, interesting thought.
It's something that I really do hope they touch on at some point. Like when they, I don't know, get Tim Morrison to play live action Rex in Ahsoka season 2. That would be nice. And then having give him that emotion, because I think Rex has been given a lot of really emotional beats in these things, like, Siege of Mandalore, last episode of Clone Wars, there's a lot of emotion in that character. I think him processing that, or him just a line, just him talking about it, I think is something interesting. And the fact that, you look at Ahsoka season 2, Baylan Skoll, he's out in the open saying few would live to see who he became. This whole idea that the secret's out now, and then that the circle of people that know the real story has grown. So you would think at that point Rex would be in that circle.
Yeah, you'd think. One of the Bad Batch did a pretty good job of wrapping up all its storylines. The Rex storyline, it feels like there's some
threads there.
Yeah, there's some threads left to be pulled there. So I don't know, maybe Tales of the Clones or something more. 2026. Come on, Dave. Let's make it happen. Make it happen. All right. Dr. Hugh 17 asks, why were the janitors stationed aboard the Acclamator assault ship Prosecutor hesitant about doing hoovering work near the garbage airlocks?
What?
It's a very simple question. Why were the janitors stationed on the Acclamator assault ship Prosecutor hesitant about doing hoovering work near the garbage airlock? Because they were worried about getting sucked into a vacuum. Back to the dad jokes.
It's a very, very British joke. Very British.
It does include the word hoovering.
Yeah.
Which
you won't hear that over here. You won't hear someone say, I'm gonna hoover the living room. That's not a thing.
But we should. That is objectively a better word than vacuuming.
Like what you're talking, my vacuum's not a hoover. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and you can't explain the joke. Yeah, you can't explain the joke to people because then you give away the punchline with the vacuum. All right.
You always want to end a joke with, but you know what it means. You know what I'm saying. You always want to end it like that because that the joke is landed when you're explaining it.
Jokes are always funniest when you explain them. All right, Dr. Q. All right, I see where you're going. Keep working on the material. It's not there yet, but keep working on it. We might be on something. All right, let's do another one from Gilster10, who says, if the Jedi Order were to capture a Sith Lord, whether a master or an apprentice, what protocols would they follow? Would the Sith be executed on the spot, or would they be given a fair trial either by the Jedi Council or the Galactic Senate? I've always wondered how the Jedi would handle someone like Maul or Dooku if they were captured and brought back to the Jedi Temple. I mean, that is sort of a what if of Siege of Mandalore there that you could do with an alternate history, because they do capture Maul. So what happens there?
I don't think the Jedi Code allows you to execute people.
No, and that's why in Revenge of the Sith, right? Like when Mace is about to do that to Palpatine, Anakin is saying no. Now, of course, Anakin has his own reasons for saying no, but Mace is kind of in violation of the Jedi Code and probably the law to kill Palpatine in that moment. I think Dave Filoni has said, like, in his mind, Mace does that. Mace follows through. He probably winds up going to jail. Like, that's probably the end of Mace Windu's life and career as he knew it. Whether now, is that a sacrifice that he's willing to make? It seems like it is a worthy sacrifice. Well, that's to be debated.
It then kind of brings up the question of why didn't Anakin go to trial over what happened with Dooku?
Yeah.
I mean, they just must assume that he was defending himself, and there clearly probably was no body that probably went away with the other half of the ship.
Yeah. His body's gone, and the only other person who saw it was Palpatine, and Palpatine has an ulterior motive. And it's
all the cameras just blew up mysteriously. No footage.
There's a minute-long gap in the footage. With the Anakin, Dooku's probably like, oh, it's in the fog of war and blah blah blah, and maybe if we were dealing with something like a 900-page novel or a 8-episode miniseries or something, maybe you could do something where Anakin might have to go in and answer some questions about what happened. He might have to testify before the Senate subcommittee. Debrief. Yeah.
But like with Dooku is a good example of this, because you have Dooku captured, the episode where they're vying to get a hold of Dooku after Hondo has captured him, and it doesn't seem at that point that they're going to execute him or anything. Like, there's like, we need to get him under our control, we need to put him in prison because he's a bad guy. It's only until you get to Dark Disciple where it's like clearly like they're pointing out the fact that like the Jedi have gone too far. They're getting desperate. They're willing to hire these people to go and assassinate him because they're desperate. They're outside the Jedi Code at this point, and obviously it's pointed out very, very adequately. But I think that's kind of your answer in regards to, under normal circumstances they wouldn't, but the Jedi at that point, when you get Dark Disciple and then Revenge of the Sith coming back around to Mace, rightfully so, is being like, the dude literally just said he's the Senate. Okay, literally just said that. You really think I'm just gonna put him in handcuffs and then I'm just gonna march him out of here and he's gonna have a fair trial? Like, he's literally a Sith Lord. Like, Mace has the right idea. It's just, he couldn't implement it correctly.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to get 60 votes in the Senate to convict even after Palpatine stormed the Capitol. Wait, what did I say? I can't remember. Something about that. I don't know. Yeah.
Why does Star Wars have to be so real, guys?
So political. It's 60. I was gonna say actually need 66 votes, 67 votes. I was so close to being in order 66 thing.
I think there's in the Revenge of the Sith novelization or something like that, where it's like, I can't remember who he's talking to, but Palpatine's like, Well, so what? So what if I'm a Sith Lord? Like, you're persecuting me for my religious beliefs and like that? Like, like, so what? Like, how does that? Why does me being a Sith Lord mean that you get to kill me or take me out of office? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
That's so funny. Oh my god, that is fantastic. Yeah, the only other sort of place there's like an effort to capture a Sith would be the Acolyte. With Manny, and
they brought Manny Jedi and lost to Manny.
I feel like Saul really wanted to capture him. I don't feel like Vernestra wanted to capture him. I think she wanted to take him out and hide the evidence. So it's kind of interesting conundrum. All right, good question there, Gilster. All right, let's do a Joel question.
All right.
Let's do a Joel question. Which one's most interesting here? Let's try this one.
All right.
Hello, Underworld. My question to you is this. Do you find it funny that without supplementary material and later the post-Endor expanded universe, an audience member would have no idea what the Rebel Alliance is actually fighting for? Seriously, think about it. We know...
We talked about this one last week.
Then why is it in the show notes, man?
I don't know. I swore I took this one out.
All right. Let's do this. Let's do this one then. This one is from August 23rd. So hopefully there's been nothing since then. How about this? Hey, Underworld. Today's question is less of a question and more of an observation about why I feel that despite there not being a Star Wars movie for 7 years, its return to theaters won't capture the same magic that The Force Awakens did. For a few major reasons. The first is simple. While I expect The Mandalorian and Grogu to be a fun summer blockbuster adventure, it isn't the same kind of event movie as continuing the mainline Star Wars saga. The Force Awakens wasn't just another film, it was the return of the original trilogy cast and a direct continuation of the saga many fans consider the, quote, important, unquote, Star Wars. That kind of weight is hard to replicate. The second major reason is that whether it always worked or not, the live-action streaming shows have effectively acted as substitutes for the theatrical Star Wars. Let's face it, the general audience, and even some fans, live-action Star Wars is, quote, real Star Wars. When The Force Awakens came out in 2015, it wasn't just Star Wars returning to theaters, it was live-action Star Wars, real Star Wars, returning to theaters after nearly a decade. From 2008 to 2012, the franchise was mainly represented by animated projects like The Clone Wars. While beloved by many fans, the general public never fully embraced them in the same way. By contrast, in the Disney Plus era, we've had a steady stream of live-action Star Wars shows, The Mandalorian, Andor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka, and more. These shows could have easily been movies. Instead, they were delivered as 8 elongated movies instead of 2.5-hour streamlined stories. Some exceptions, of course. Because of that, the thrill of live-action Star Wars is back doesn't carry the same impact in 2025 as it did in 2015. That's why, while many will be happy to see Star Wars return to theaters, I don't think it can capture the same sense of magic. Quite frankly, we've already had what I'd call blockbuster-level Star Wars experiences at home for years now. Since 2015, there's been a nearly nonstop flow of live-action projects, even if not always on the big screen. So that's basically my observation. Is Star Wars' return to theaters undercut by the fact that live-action Star Wars never truly went away, unlike the 2006 to 2015 gap? Will audiences really notice a difference? Love the podcast as always, Joel Davis.
I think that the conclusion is correct, but I think that the reasons are weighted differently. I think that might be some of the factors, the causes that Joel has given. But I think the major cause is actually something more systemic with the industry in general, which is, I think, the death of monoculture. Yes. I think that there's just so much media that people have access to now that people are forming their own niches inside genres and franchises. And it's just very rare, and we may never have something like Star Wars again that so many people are into. And I think that one of the things that pushed The Force Awakens so far is you had 2 to 3 generations of people anticipating that. And the first couple generations were very much in a monoculture. The last one wasn't, but it was only a piece of it. Now we're going into an era where, you know, the majority of fans are going to be post-monoculture. They're going to be since the genreification and nicheification of media. So I'm thinking, yeah, that it's just, you're just not going to get a horde of people all interested in the same way, not just for that, but for anything ever again.
Yeah. And you look at sort of post-pandemic trends for movies. Movies do still, you know, a handful of movies still make $1 billion at the box office, but it's far less common recently than it has been. Every now and again, you'll see a graphic shared around that shows like the top highest grossing DC movies at the box office, and the most recent Superman, which has been a solid success by any reasonable metric, will be below movies that you're like, how the hell is that up there? Why did Aquaman make so much money? And no disrespect to that movie, but it seems weighted differently. And so, yeah, between the lack of a monoculture, the lack of the like once in a lifetime feeling of Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and Mark Hamill back again, and with, as Joel said, the fact that it is that we have had live action Star Wars on TV for this whole time. It never felt like Star Wars went away. I think likely just means that you know, Mandalorian and Grogu is a solid hit. People enjoy it. It makes a good chunk of money, but it's not The Force Awakens. It's not Rogue One. It's not The Last Jedi. It's none of those. It's also a continuation of a TV series, and I that might both help and hurt it. You know, like people already like these characters, so they might be inclined to go and see it. But it might hurt it if there's some people like, oh, I haven't watched the shows. I only watched the movies. There might be a little bit of that.
That happens.
There will be.
And season 3 maybe didn't leave Mando in the best place.
Yeah, and then also like with the $1 billion thing, $1 billion isn't $1 billion anymore either. Like if you're talking about post-pandemic, $1 billion is like $500 million now.
Yeah.
So like inflation just has skewed those numbers as well. So it's not as much as it used to be. So now it's like films need to be shooting for like $5 to $10 billion to have that same impact of wow, everybody saw it 10 times. Especially too with the global audiences expanding as well and diluting the per area averages, and yeah, that's too anyway jargony, but yes. So yeah, I think it's important to, whenever something happens that is seems like it's being felt by the whole society, I think it's important to really enjoy and appreciate it, because I think those moments are coming fewer and farther between. Like, I think that's why, like, the Eras tour, for example, was something that I appreciated a lot a couple years ago, because it was kind of one of those moments where, like, wow, everybody's talking about this. Everybody's interested in this one way or the other. And I think that just, we're going to see less and less things like that. It used to be like, here's the thing. You know, this summer has a thing. This winter has a thing. I think that the things are less and less.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Joel, going back to Joel's question, I think he makes a lot of good points. Just like that Star Wars is back moment that to me is like has happened twice in history. Like if you have 1999 Phantom Menace, you have 2015 Force Awakens. Like those are times that were preceded by a lack of Star Wars, not much going on, especially in 1999. Like I think the fandom was very, I wasn't around back prior to 1999, like monitoring what was going on. Obviously the internet was in its infancy. I think the fandom was cultivated in 2015, but I think for the general public, they weren't paying attention to Clone Wars. They weren't watching that. They may have heard Rebels was on. They knew Disney was making stuff, but that was Force Awakens for most people was the reintroduction of Star Wars. It was that Star Wars is back moment. And for that to happen, Star Wars has to go away. And it has not. It has been with us since 2014, starting with Rebels. Like, we've had consistent Star Wars content. Even now, when we have less of it, there's still a lot happening.
2 miniseries coming out in the next 2 months, like Lego and Visions. Like, there's still lots,
and they're you could say, you can make the argument that the animated stuff is not a big a deal to the general public. That some of the live action shows aren't as big of a deal. And obviously, being our brains are wired to like, oh, it's in a movie theater, it's a big deal. And we're coded to that, but also, there's a lot of big movies that things, you had K-pop Demon Hunters made a huge splash on streaming, and now they're putting it in theaters because it went viral and people were loving it. So, that happens. And I think, like, one of the consistent criticisms that I hear from people, not for people that are generally like, that hate what's happening with Star Wars right now, but just like people in general, just like, I'm not on board with this because Star Wars isn't special anymore. That they enjoyed the idea of there's one Star Wars movie, and then I had to wait 3 years, and then sometimes I had to wait 18 years for the next Star Wars movie, and it was special. It was something that only happened at certain times, and it was something you really had to wait for. Versus now we're getting stuff every few months. To me, that's a trade-off. That's the trade-off that's something that if I had to choose, I would choose this timeline of Star Wars is a little less special. It's not this long drawn out, you have to wait for a thing. We're getting consistent content. That's what I prefer. Just because, all in all, I feel that most of what we've gotten has been good. I've enjoyed most of it. And it's not going to be without bumps in the road. There's been huge bumps in the road with modern Star Wars. But for the most part, I've enjoyed it, and I don't want Star Wars to go away. Even when there's people out there that are like banging that drum of oversaturation. Like, we can't keep doing this things. And I think that has happened to a certain extent. I think the fact that they've pulled back on the live action shows. And Marvel is experiencing this of just like, things aren't hitting the way they want them to, financially, especially. So they're retooling things and they're looking at what things. And I think, so yes, to all in this point of like Mandarin Grogu is not going to hit as hard as Force Awakens because it never went away. Like, Mandalorian in itself has carried Star Wars, in the pop culture zeitgeist. And it's only been a year or so, maybe at most a couple years by the time we get to that movie that season 3 has been out. So like, it's in the zeitgeist. People are still wearing Baby Yoda t-shirts. It's out there.
Yeah.
So it won't be a Star Wars is back moment. It'll just be like a Star Wars is back in theaters. Watch Baby Yoda on a big screen.
Yeah. If Star Wars is ever to recapture that, or anything is going to recapture that sort of monocultural moment, it almost has to be more like Endgame, in the sense that it's the conclusion to something that is built up over many years, that started in a smaller bubble, and then that bubble expanded to become something that approaches a monocultural event.
Well, that's what that's why the Eras tour, I think, was so big, because it was exactly that. And then also it was her not doing a tour for so many years as well, similar to Star Wars not having a movie for so many years. So
I remember my friend who is the big Taylor Swift fan. She was telling me when we were working together, she's like, "Oh yeah, Taylor's going on tour again." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." And then like literally exactly what you're saying, it built up over that of like, I knew she went to one of the concerts, and then it's suddenly seeing the videos from all the concerts, and the thing was big and growing and growing and growing until suddenly it was in theaters and it was everywhere. Yeah, it's that sort of thing, but it's got to build up. So for Star Wars, it's got to build up to this thing of like, you got to have a string of consistently good movies that build on each other in telling some sort of larger narrative. This is a point that Hannah has made many times.
Yeah.
That, you know, sometimes for as much as, you know, we as fans may enjoy the like craziness of the Star Wars releases and that like you can have Acolyte and then Andor and then Mando Grogu. And I guess those are all technically in chronological order, but they're in different eras and they're not related to each other. Sometimes it feels like there isn't a momentum from thing to thing. And sometimes it's just the things aren't landing with as big of a splash as you want them to. And sometimes it's because the stories are unrelated. And if you could have a really good string of movies that, if not, that aren't necessarily direct sequels to each other, but do, you know, play in the same era. So if Starfighter is really good and that leads to the Rey movies that's in this era that is really good, and together they both sort of hint at something larger, and then, oh my God, here's Simon Kinberg with episodes 10, 11, and 12, and those are really good. And then and you surround that with maybe a TV series and some stuff that it also is building in that direction. So then all of a sudden episode 12 is what Rise of Skywalker should have been, not in like a quality or storytelling sense, although hopefully, but just in sort of like a moment of like, wow, we're bringing everything together and it's awesome. And you have this sort of big final climactic, you know, event, battle, whatever.
And I wonder if, you know, going back to what Joel added in the super chat about K-pop Demon Hunters being a big event, and then what Ben mentioned as well. I think one of the things there is like K-pop has slowly been building in popularity for you know, a while, as well as kind of anime and anime adjacent, you know, type media. And I think it's not permeating into older generations. Like, I think that's a big event for like a certain generation, like millennials and younger millennials and Gen Z. I think that really permeated a lot, but not necessarily into Gen X or boomers. But I think that as the generations turn over and the millennials become the new boomers and Gen Z becomes the new Gen X, and then it's all Gen Alpha and Gen Beta or whatever it's going to be after Alpha. I think that you might see that with some like anime type things. And that's why I think it's really fantastic that Visions is focusing on that, because that, as I mentioned before, is a way to expand what Star Wars is. And that might build a kind of new audience that is younger now, but eventually is going to get older. And you might get to a point where you get the first movie that comes out in theaters that is based on something that started in Star Wars Visions. And maybe that's that big moment. And it wouldn't happen now, but say that happens in 20, 30 years. And then all the people now who are growing up with Visions and growing up with anime and J-pop and K-pop and all of these things that are very oriented on that side of the world, and their culture, you know, being fused with ours here in the West. Like, I think then there'll be that big nostalgia factor of, wow, we're getting a Ninth Jedi movie, and that could then be really, really, really big in like 10, 20 years. And then you have all the younger people just getting into it then, but then all of the older millennials and Gen Zs saying, I remember growing up with this, and now we're getting it, you know, this big moment. So that could be something that develops as well. But again, I think the point is we're not seeing those things fully go away. It's just there's less and less of them. It's less likely that that's gonna happen.
It's harder to manufacture that.
Yeah. Yes.
And there was a moment there where it felt like the studios had figured out how to manufacture them. Yeah. But once you figure out how to manufacture them, they all start to feel the same.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, then they stop feeling special, and they stop feeling big and you know, impactful. And the ones that do still hit that way, they are, because they've built off something else. And like, you know, to me, the biggest, bestest Marvel moment since Endgame was another sort of culmination of a story in Guardians Volume 3.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another one. Like if there's a Marvel movie that's been a zeitgeist moment, since Endgame, it's that or the Three Spiders Man coming together. So yeah. So yeah, it's fascinating. We'll watch that with great interest. As
or maybe Mandalorian and Grogu will be the first movie in history to make $5 billion. And just get things. Don't underestimate the power of that puppet, okay?
Yeah, Grogu just mind tricks the world. Does the magic hand thing, baby. And suddenly we're all seeing Mando Grogu. Well, the whole world is seeing Mando Grogu the number of times that we see Mando Grogu.
Yes.
Which is
correct.
A lot. All right. I think that's where we will leave things and begin to wrap things up for this week.
All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching and listening. We'll be back with another show next week. In the meantime, follow us at the SWU. Dominic, thank you so much for hosting.
It was my pleasure. As always, great fun getting into all of this stuff. And, looking back a little bit on Fan Expo. That, again, just to echo what I said earlier, thank you to everybody who came out. Thank you to everybody who helped with that. And thank you to Fan Expo. And I with the Star Wars The Untold Story panel went so well. I'm like looking at next year going, could I go on tour? Could I go to multiple conventions and do this presentation for folks? So stay tuned. Maybe we'll have something more from that. In terms of stuff to promote, otherwise for me, my laptop died the other day. So basically anything that I was going to promote has to be on hold until we find out if one, I can fix it, and two, if I have to replace it. So hot off the press on temporary hiatus until I have a regular access to a computer. Also, me and Corey are launching a new project that is also on hold until I can get my new computer. But Corey already started to spread the word a little bit about it. But we'll share more in the weeks to come once we know when we can record it and can actually have a proper launch date, which again goes back to the fact that I don't have a computer right now and I'm currently borrowing Matthew's computer to do this one. So and I don't think I can borrow Matthew's computer for more than 2 hours a week here. So I feel like that might be asking a little too much of my friend. So that's where we're at. But it was great to be here. Great to talk Star Wars. Great to talk Starfighter. So friggin' excited for this movie. It's going to be so much fun in 2 years. And can't wait to do all this again in 7 days' time.
You can follow Dominic J at 25 on social media, and that's where you can get your pre-sale tickets to Dominic Jones at Crypto.com Arena 2027, the tour.
The Star Wars The Untold Stories. Lucasfilm will be very happy with me for telling all the stories about all the things that they didn't do.
Exactly. Ben, thank you so much for hosting as well.
Oh, it was a pleasure as always. And despite what I said, thank you, Lucasfilm, for providing us with some pretty big topics. We would have had a good show, Angs, but that was really the icing on the cake to find out that yes, another Star Wars movie is in production. Pretty exciting stuff. So yeah, too bad Star Wars is dead.
Oh my God. Star Wars is not dead, it's surely alive. That's I don't know, I'm referencing something from 2015. Alrighty, so we want to remind everybody about our regular game night that is happening on Discord. Link is in the description to join our Discord. And of course, check out all the other shows on the Star Wars Underworld Network, Raeside, Ion Cannon, Tales from Beyond the Galaxy, Tractor Beam, and more. I mean, pretty much at this point with the Star Wars Underworld Podcast, using the Ion Cannon set, using the Ion Cannon production equipment as basically Ion Cannon over here.
We're going to talk about our week in Star Wars next. We'll do that, and then we're going to do a deep dive in the High Republic,
Yeah, so you can
all
see
the things you expect on Ion Cannon.
You can see the real thing on this channel on Mondays. Check it out. And then, of course, on your way out, make sure that you're subscribing, reviewing if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And thanks to our super chatters tonight and our channel members. That's it. We're out of here. For Ben and Dom, my name is Chris. May the Force be with you.
It's a wrap.